Welcome back everyone to another video, and it looks like the CMA has played Microsoft a little bit, but it looks like the FTC still isn't done getting their asses handed to them, and they have also filed an appeal. Now, obviously, the judge ruled in Microsoft's favor and rejected the preliminary injunction, but Lina Khan is not yet done. She is still insisting that the decision and the process was flawed and that they should have been granted the preliminary injunction. And there's a lot of chatter at the moment about, the judge's son working for Microsoft, which was disclosed in every single case, and the FTC agreed to it in every single case. And now that they've had, the decision didn't go their way, now I'm guessing that's going to be the reason why they're appealing. But at the start of the trial, it was already disclosed. She actually said to them, I'm making a full disclosure. If you want me to recuse myself, I can. And the FTC said no. Considering it was the FTC's own judge, their own choice, their own location, it's a really, really weird one. But, the FTC, much like the CMA, is enjoying wasting taxpayers' money. And, well, things are getting more and more interesting as this develops, but I think Microsoft now has to, if they really want to push this case through, get really, really nasty with both the FTC and the CMA. And those mini threats that they were pushing through, especially with the UK's closed for business, I think they really need to make good on those threats and see how the UK government reacts to that, because clearly things need to change and these regulators need to be reined in a little, especially considering how much of our money they're wasting. It's not on. But with that said, before I do get into the video, I do want to say that I have ordered a Halo light. I know some of you in the comment section have complained that these videos are a little dark. I have ordered a light. It should be here by Friday, so hopefully that will fix that problem. So do bear with me, and hopefully that won't hinder your enjoyment of this video. Of course, if you do enjoy the video, do consider leaving a like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell to stay up to date with all content I release. And well, on with the actual show. So as you can see here, and light now should be a lot better because I've got a bright screen reflected at me. The FTC appeals court decision permitting Microsoft to buy Activision Blizzard. Now, earlier this week, a judge ruled in favor of Microsoft in its fight with the FTC. I'm looking at this article because it actually covers the deception of the CMA as well. I'm calling it a deception because that's exactly what it is. And I'll get more into that as we go through this article. It is by The Verge, so I think let's go through it and see what it says. The Federal Trade Commission, FTC, says it is appealing a recent US federal court order that cleared the way for Microsoft to pursue Activision Blizzard. The FTC has filed a notice that it is appealing Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley's decision, but we won't know the regulator's full argument until the full appeal is submitted to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Microsoft won a grueling fight with the FTC earlier this week, with a federal judge denying a preliminary injunction request from the US regulator. Now, I don't think that anything is going to come from this unless, unless, honestly, the only way I see the FTC actually having any chance of this is if Biden makes a presidential order for this to actually be denied. That's the only way I'm seeing this working. And I know some of you are going to say he can't do that or whatever. There's a lot of things that happen in politics where they're not supposed to do it. Shit happens. The court finds the FTC has not shown a likelihood it will prevail on its claim. This particular vertical merger in this specific industry may subsequently lessen competition. Judge Corley wrote in the ruling, to the contrary, the record evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content, which in reality is the case. There will be more people able to play Call of Duty than not with this ruling, with this merger not happening. If the preliminary injunction had been granted, it would have temporarily blocked Microsoft from closing its Activision Blizzard deal under the result of the FTC's own administrative case against the company. That separate legal challenge is still due to commence on August the 2nd. This is the one where the FTC is actually suing them. And, Judge Corley said, this deal can still go through, and if your suing case can still happen, and if you win that, well, then you can talk about divestitures or whatever you need to and deal with it at that point. Now that the FTC is choosing to appeal Judge Corley's decision, the regulator needs the Ninth Court Circuit of Appeals to issue an emergency stay to extend the existing temporary restraining order, which is the current TRO in place, which is for 5 days, which was reduced to Friday. So basically it was reduced to 3 days, or was it 4 days? That is set to expire at 11:59 PM PT on Friday, July 14th. It's not clear if the appeals court will even rule before the deal deadline on July 18th, potentially leaving the door open for Microsoft to close the Activision Blizzard deal on Monday or Tuesday without a restraining order in place. So if this actually does take long, they still have to sit down and read what the appeal is, read what the actual reasonings behind it is. This could take a few days. Now, if it extends past Friday, Monday, or Tuesday, I think Microsoft is going to close the deal anyway, and at that point, the whole outlook of this will be completely different. And especially with what the UK CMA has done, I really wouldn't pass Microsoft at this point to honestly just close it. I think Microsoft now has to really start playing dirty. They've tried playing fair, they've tried playing clean. It's really not getting them anywhere. And at this point, I think they really need to take the gloves off and just show them that, this was me being nice. Now this is me pushing my weight around. Microsoft still needs to resolve the issues of the UK's Competition and Markets Authority with its acquisition before it can close, after the regulator blocked the deal on cloud concerns earlier this year. It doesn't need to do anything with the UK, it can actually close without the UK. That will create other complications, especially for us in the UK. We will lose access to certain things, but they can actually close until they reset up everything else. Both Microsoft and the CMA almost instantly announced they had agreed to pause their legal battles, and I made a video on this just yesterday, so everything seemed to have been going right to negotiate after Judge Corley's ruling Tuesday. In a surprise statement on Wednesday, however, the CMA then warned Microsoft's opportunity to restructure its deal could lead to a new merger investigation. Now, for those of you that don't know, this could basically be another year-long investigation. It's not something small. And that talks between the regulator and Microsoft were still at an early stage. Now, that's one way of looking at it, where this investigation could take another year, or this could just be, PR talk to say that they're making Microsoft bend the knee to their will and getting their point across. Now, this obviously runs contrary to the report from CNBC's that claimed Microsoft and CMA have agreed on a small divestiture to address the cloud gaming concerns. Now, this is what CNBC announced yesterday, and it was, obviously we were going by what they said, but if that was agreed, this goes completely 180 to what the CMA was saying. Now, there's another way of looking at this, right? The CMA originally, because they didn't have a smoking gun, wanted to delay the process, and the CAT tribunal told them no. So this could be another way where they turned around and saw that the FTC lost. They basically contacted Microsoft and said, look, we're willing to talk if you want to pause the tribunal. And so Microsoft said, you know what, we want to keep things civil. Let's do that. And by pausing it, they got the delay they wanted. And now they're being arseholes to Microsoft. CNBC didn't expand on what that divestiture could involve, but such a scenario will likely be specific to the UK and could involve changes to Microsoft's Xbox Cloud gaming services in the region. Now, this is what I was saying earlier, and some of you in the chat were saying that they're not going to remove xCloud from the UK. Maybe they're going to remove Activision Blizzard games from xCloud. I mean, it could be anything, right, at this point. EU regulators also had cloud gaming concerns, but approved the deal earlier this year thanks to 10-year licensing deals that Microsoft has offered to cloud gaming competitors. The CMA also warns that Microsoft doesn't have the opportunity to put forward new remedies once a final report is issued. So what they're saying is, our final report is there, we blocked it, we're not going to go back on that choice or that decision. If you want us to sit down, this needs to be a restructured deal. Basically, they need to reinvestigate. So it gives the CMA a lot more time to start digging through and finding reasons to block this deal. I think if the CAT tribunal can still go ahead, and this is still an option, I think Microsoft should unpause it and then continue ahead and just completely and utterly humiliate the CMA. And as an alternative, I think they should close the deal and then just pull Activision out of the UK. Microsoft doesn't need to come out of the UK, but they can pull Activision as an institution out of the UK, restructure it somewhere else. Of course, this will impact a lot of workers, but that's on the CMA and that's on the UK government. And by doing that, they do issue a very powerful statement, because Rishi Sunak said that he wants the UK to be the Silicon Valley of Europe, of the USA, and he wants it to be the equivalent of it. And that's where this statement from Brad Smith came from when he said the UK is close to business, because Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the UK, repeatedly said, the UK is open for business. And so Brad Smith used his words against him. And now I think, I think we all agree that what Brad Smith was saying and what Microsoft was saying was more of a bluff than an actual threat. But it was still seen as a threat. I think they should go ahead with the threat, and I think they should just do it, just to see how quickly the UK government will react to this. Because if Microsoft, a big tech company, pulls out Activision from the UK, do you know the shockwaves that will send to the rest of the world with the UK? It's going to be very bad. If a big tech company like Microsoft is going to pull out of the UK in terms of Activision Blizzard as a subsidiary company to, a child component to their company, they're pulling it out due to the unreasonableness of the UK. The shockwaves that this will send out to the rest of the world in the tech community, in the tech industry, will be massive. The UK will officially be closed for business. Microsoft isn't just a toy company that, can be messed about with or, trifled with. If Microsoft really wants to cause damage to the UK, they can do it. And no amount of fine from the CMA is going to do anything to touch their bank balance. We're talking about a company that can willy-nilly throw $79 billion away to buy a publisher. What sort of fine is the UK going to give them? 100,000? A million? 500 million? Do you think Microsoft care if they really want to prove a point? I don't. And if I was Microsoft, I'm a vindictive person, so I would actually do it without even second thinking it. I would just take them out, put them in Europe, offer the staff members from the UK 6-month placements to, cover their costs for 6 months. It's going to be a heavy cost investment for a while. But give them the opportunity, people the opportunity to migrate to Europe, to relocate and continue working. Some will leave, some will go through. This will change the DNA of Activision entirely, sure, but if I was Microsoft, I would do that. I would just to see how Rishi Sunak, Jeremy Hunt reacts to that, and you'll see a reaction very, very quickly. Sarah Cardell, she'll be fired within minutes or hours of that announcement being made that they're pulling it out due to the fact that the UK is closed for business. Microsoft's deal with the EU included a key remedy that involves a free license to the consumers in EU countries that would allow them to stream via any cloud game streaming service of their choice. all current and future Activision Blizzard PC and console games that they have a license for. Cloud providers will also be offered a free license to stream all these games. All eyes now turn to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and Microsoft's potential deal with the CMA in the UK. Now, obviously, this can go two ways. Like I said, the CMA could be doing this to pretty much just show that they're making Microsoft bend the knee, and that is always possible, right? That's always a possibility. But the FTC, in my opinion, deciding that they're going to appeal one last time to try and block this, I think is ridiculous. And honestly, they've lost 3 appeals already, 2 gamer lawsuits, the actual trial, and now they're trying again, 4th time's the charm. Outside of a presidential order, I cannot see this actually going through. There was nothing here that was wrong, and the current chatter by all over Twitter at the moment that she has a son that works for Microsoft, that was disclosed at the very beginning. That was disclosed before the trial started. And let's not forget, Microsoft wanted this trial to happen in Colorado under a different judge. It was the FTC who chose California. It was the FTC who chose Judge Corley, and they fully well knew that she had a conflict of interest here, which she openly said will not affect her the case. And she even asked the FTC at the time, the lawyers, do you want me to recuse myself because of this situation? And they said, no, we have full faith in your honor. So you can't have it both ways. You can't complain that, oh, she might have been biased towards all of this when she gave you the full opportunity to have herself recused, and you said no, you had full faith, you knew the situation, you knew the circumstances, you knew her conflict of interest, and you still agreed that everything was okay and you had zero problem with it. So to try and potentially appeal around that basis, if that is what they're appealing against, because that is pretty much the number one chatter right now on the internet, I think is not only disrespectful to the judge. Basically, they're saying that she rigged the trial, but also a disrespectful to the whole judicial system, where anything that is said in court, even under oath or even under legal standing, doesn't matter. So that means that, what the FTC is saying, that Phil's statement under oath doesn't matter. Satya Nadella's statement under oath doesn't matter. Anyone standing trial, whether it's a business case or a murder trial or anything, where they get up on that stand and make that declaration under oath, it doesn't matter. That is what the FTC is essentially saying, if this is basically what they're pushing forward with. I don't know. I think this is absolutely disgusting and ridiculous, and, we'll see soon enough what's going to happen, but I really do, at this point, I've always been kind of center-left in the sense that I like rooting for the underdog, right? And in this case, Microsoft is the underdog. But right now, at this point, just to spite them all, I actually really want Microsoft to win. I do. Because I think that the CMA and the FTC have been severely unfair. They've bent the rule of law way too much to their own desires. And as someone who, has studied law and, reads a lot into the legal aspects of certain things in the UK, at least, not the US law, this case has been very interesting to me. But to see the abuse that's been going on, to see the blatant misguidance and disassociation of the law being applied just to suit their agenda, I think is unacceptable. And at this point, I do want Microsoft to win. Just out of spite. If nothing else, I want Microsoft to close the deal, and then I want them to push forward with their threat for the UK. I mean, I live in the UK, right? You can tell from my accent. I'm British. But I want them to push forward with their threat and actually make good on it. And then send the shockwaves around the world so everyone can see. And then I want to see how quick Sarah Cardell turns around and says, you know what, we have no problem with this, because it will be her neck on the line when all these people potentially lose their jobs and investors pull out from the UK. She'll be ruined. And maybe that's what it needs, because from what I'm seeing, the FTC and the CMA, they see themselves above the prime ministerial and the presidential ruling entirely. They see themselves as pretty much top of the food chain when it comes to everything. And it's high time that someone actually put them in their place. That's my opinion. But you let me know what you think in the comment section below. Let's have that discussion, and I will see you in the next one. Remain legend.